What is going on, everybody? Another episode of 4x4 Camping and Adventures, and in this part of the update video, I decided to get a bunch of videos done just to answer a few questions of people that have been asking me questions, that kind of thing, regarding the vehicle. And I've now set 7,000 kilometers on these new tyres, so I can probably give a pretty reasonable conclusion of how they drive, how they travel, all that kind of stuff now. So as I said, 7,000 clicks on the tyres, and road noise is the first thing I'm going to bring up. Now, these have less road noise than my Maxxis all-terrain tyres the whole way through their life range. So when the Maxxis tyres got really low on tread, they started to get really noisy. So when you're on the freeway, you got that real woo, that real mud tyre noise going through the car. So I haven't actually got that with these, so it might be the fact that in Esperance there's not many really sealed roads. It's all sort of coarse roads, but I do not hear any road noise from these. There's a little bit of a like a standard road noise when you're going over coarse roads, that sort of that noise. When you're on the freeway, they do hum a tiny bit, but I'm talking about for a mud tyre or a fairly aggressive tyre, they're extremely quiet. So first things first, are they noisy? In my opinion, no, they're not. And these aren't exactly the most, let's say, insulated cars, because they're quite cheap. And Mitsubishi, did obviously cut some corners with insulation, that kind of stuff. So I think they're quite quiet. They're pretty quiet, I should say, for how much noise does get through this vehicle. So first things first, yes, they're quiet. Second, off-road performance. Off-road performance has actually been fantastic. So what I wanted to sort of touch on is I've driven these on sand. I have driven these, I just came up a big sand dune, so I've definitely driven them on sand. I have driven them on gravel, I have driven them on the road, and I have driven them in mud. I've done a little bit of rock, but this is not a rock crawler, so I haven't done much of that. So there is other reviews on YouTube if you want to go see what these handle like on rocks, but I can give you a fair idea of everything else. Now, grip in sand, they bag out on my car quite nicely, so I don't have an issue with grip in sand. As you see me coming up that massive hill, there's definitely plenty of grip there. So sand, no dramas at all. They don't really dig in. I don't find the fact that they dig into sand and that whole sort of consensus about mud tyres and the sand don't work and all that kind of thing. Look, mud tyres do dig in more than all-terrain tyres. It's obvious. They have bigger lugs on them. It's what they're going to do. But if you have an all-terrain tyre and you live in a beach or a beachy area, don't get muddies, because your all-terrain is going to work better on that surface. So if you're in a really sandy area and that kind of thing, all-terrain is probably going to be fine for you. If you're in an area where you do a little bit of mud, a bit of sand, bit of gravel and that kind of thing, that's where you'd probably look at a mud terrain. So I definitely wouldn't recommend mud tyres for someone who's going to go on the sand 24/7. So, or every single weekend they're doing sand driving, because there's no real point. You're not going to gain anything. They look better, I suppose, but you're definitely not going to gain anything in the sense of traction and all that. So I think all-terrain tyres do that really well. But where mud comes into the conversation, these grip. And when I say they grip. So I went and tried out a little bit of a muddy, let's say muddy area a couple of weeks back, and they gripped up. Like, I had grip for days. As soon as you get a bit of spin into them, they clean those lugs straight out. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with the mud performance, and the actual traction they offer on the mud is actually fantastic. And the sort of, as I said, the last one is on the gravel on the road. On the gravel, they've got plenty of traction. On the road, when at about 110 k's, if you go through a fairly decent puddle, they do aquaplane a little bit. Not aquaplane, but they do sort of grip the wheel as you go through those a little bit. So it does feel a little bit weird, but yeah, I definitely haven't felt the car move on the when you're going through the water. They just sort of pull a little bit, which is normal for cars, obviously, when they go through water. But it just pulled a little bit. So I was doing 110, went through a puddle, and it just sort of pulled a bit, which sort of sort of put me a little bit off. I was like, oh, okay, well that's a little bit weird. But then I realised the amount of obviously water that would go into these lugs would be a fair bit. So, and being a fairly aggressive tyre design, there's there's not really a massive opportunity for the water to channel out. So just be cautious of that, especially when you're driving through big puddles and that kind of thing on the road and you're doing a fairly decent speed. Conversation about the actual tyre itself. So I got a pretty good deal from a mate, Oliver, in Tyre Power in Albany, and as I said in the original video when I did these, I cannot recommend that guy enough. He did an absolutely fantastic job, and the whole thing came out perfect. Obviously, I still paid for him, but the price was fantastic. So he gave me a really good deal, and I was really happy with the end result. Now, I have had these in a probably pretty rough off-road situation. I actually almost pulled it off the bead. It didn't actually pull it off the bead, but it was pretty damn close. So there's a video about that that you've probably already seen already if you're a bit of a watcher of this channel, but where I clean it out. But yeah, with the amount of force that was on that tire, I'm surprised I didn't throw the bead off, because it only had about 18 pound in it, so it was pretty low as well. So they actually stick onto the rim really well. These are a 16x8 rim, 0 offset on a 285x75 on a 16 for the tyre. So they're a 33 in the old money, and look, I'm pretty happy with them. I haven't had a single sort of moment where I'm like, oh God, I kind of wish I didn't get those tyres. Definitely when you take off, they're a little bit more doughy. I'm just hoping the tune sort of fix that a little bit. But beyond that, they are absolutely fantastic. So I'm very happy with these tyres. As I said, this many kilometres in, and they're still looking brand new. They haven't chipped, they haven't got any wearing on them, they haven't got any lines cut into them or anything like that. They are just wearing extremely well. And obviously with the load I put in the back of this car, which the airbags will probably help now a little bit, but the amount of load that's in this car, I put my tyres for a fair bit. So that's probably what I can say about the tyres so far. Would I recommend them? Hell yes I would. They are awesome tyres, and probably when these wear out, I'm going to get myself another set, because that's how happy I am with them. They are that good. I'll probably just get myself another set, because I think this is my tyre that I'm going to continuously get on the vehicle, because road noise, off-road performance, everything like that, I'm super stoked with them. And that's probably all I can say for them now. If you're talking about bagging out, they bag out quite nicely. They have obviously got a pretty heavy-duty sidewall on them with big grabbers on the side, or side lugs as they're called. But I think, yeah, they bag out quite nicely. As I said, I've never had an issue with the beach. I mean, I live in Esperance, so I'm always on the beach. And I've never had an issue with the beach driving, and never got bogged in them. So, yeah, and as I said, they drove up that hill nice and easily. And, yeah, they're a great touring, all-terrain sort of, well, not all-terrain, but a sort of all-purpose tyre, I should say. So, no, I'm very happy with these guys. So I might leave it there. That's my update on where the tyres are. I told you I'd give you an update, obviously, where I hit the kilometres. But, yeah, really happy with them. So that's another episode of 4x4 Camping and Adventures. And if I don't see you on the tracks and trails, I'll see you in the next episode. If not, I'll see you later.